Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tubo Play NegativeAE, and welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright. So, last episode we kind of investigated the samurai people, the samurai studio set deal, and we have some suspicions, but I'm sure this trial will kind of clear a little bit up. Let's just get into it here. I think it's a toss-up between the security lady and the assistant at this moment in time. If I had to guess. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well. Mr. Edgeworth, your opening statement, please. The prosecution will show the court that on 2:30 p.m. on October 15th, the defendant, Mr. Will Powers, killed fellow actor Jack Hammer in Studio 1 of Global Studios. Let me just review what I have. Not much. I have time of death 10:15 at 2:30 p.m. pierced through the chest, so we have to remember that. A guide map to the studios. Employee area. The employee area seems to go right to Studio 2, especially if there's a gate right there. If there's like a, because we saw a little vent in the employee area, so that's going to be interesting to kind of bring up. I don't know if we can even bring it up at this point. Card key for grants access, so you need a card key to get in. And this is the photo taken. Okay, here we go. It is impossible for anyone else to have committed this heinous crime. The evidence presented during the trial will all point to this fact. So is Edgeworth going to be our opponent like 90% of the time? Is he just going to be our... The only reason I ask is because I always see like different people on the other side of the pole. So I'm like curious if they're ever going to show up, or if that's like a special like boss case or something. And Edgeworth is kind of like the normal people cases. I don't know. Very well, I'd like to move on to some testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution may call its first witness. Very well. I call a most familiar face, Detective Gumshoe, to the stand. What's up, Gumshoe? Detective, if you would briefly describe this case to the court. Yes, sir. I'll explain it with the guide map here. To understand this case, it's important to grasp the layout of the studios, see? Here, or this area here, is the employee area. The actors did a run-through of their action scenes during the morning here. This is the main gate to the studios. The security lady that works at the studios was here at 1 p.m. on that day. Past the security station, there is a gate, see? Past that, there are the studios. And here it is Studio 1. This is the scene of the murder where the body was found. Now, on the day of the murder, October 15th, there were only 3 people here. The victim, Jack Hammer. The defendant, Will Powers. And a young woman, the production assistant. All the production staff were in the employee area until noon. And after lunch, the victim, Jack Hammer, went to Studio 1. Right after that, at 1 p.m., the security lady got to the guard station. Now jump ahead to later that day, 5 p.m. The production staff came to Studio 1 to perform a rehearsal. Needless to say, the rehearsal was cancelled. The time of death was 2:30 p.m. The samurai spear found lodged in the victim's chest was the murder weapon. Like, I'm really curious to see which came first, Danganronpa or this game. I'm guessing it's this game, because this game has been around for a little bit, right? Or has Danganronpa been around longer? Because this is like very similar. Well, I guess in Danganronpa there's a little bit more arcade-ish action to this. Should I listen to the whole thing again? No. I heard what she said. I think I can probably remember that. So the murder weapon was a spear. How medieval. Spear added to the court record. Thank God, I need more evidence. Your Honor, this case is quite simple if you ask one question. And that question is, What did the security lady at the guard station see? Understood. Let's call the security officer to the stand. Oh god. I dislike this lady a whole bunch. Her face is just unlikable. Will the witness declare her name? My, aren't you a handsome fellow? I'm afraid I'm a bit flustered. Your name, please. Oh, dearie, no need to be embarrassed. Just call me Grandma. Your name, please. It seems Edgeworth has a bit of trouble getting his witnesses to say their names. Wendy Oldbag Deary. What? Oldbag. Objection. I object to the witness's talkativeness. Objection sustained. The witness will refrain from rambling on the stand. We're just getting to the good part, dearie. Perhaps we can get to the testimony? Now, the witness was stationed at the main gate on the day of the murder, correct? Yes, say I was. And to get to the scene of the murder, someone would have to pass by you? Oh, you know your stuff, dearie. You may begin your testimony. She sure is one hell of an old bag. Okay. Sure. On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station around 1 p.m. At 1 p.m., she says. Poor old Hammer and the rest had been doing a run-through there since the morning. Okay. I had some errands I had to run that morning. Anyway, it was 1 p.m. when I got to the guard station. I was at the main gate until 5 p.m. Now, the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? Interesting to me because a certain man walked right by it, or by me at 2 p.m. It was Powers. That man right there. He was heading towards the studio. Okay. You saw the defendant then? Very well. Let's begin the cross-examination. Mr. Wright? I think I know what I need to hit on, but I'm going to press on everything just to make sure. Because I am told that pressing is the best thing to do. I don't really see a consequence to it. I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Up until that time, anyone who wanted to go, anyone who wanted to could go into the studio? Well, there wasn't a security guard at the gate, no. But the main gate was locked, dearie. You'd need an employee key card to get in. Right, the card key that I had. So what she's saying is no one who wasn't supposed to be there couldn't get in. Was there anyone at the studios when you arrived at the guard station? Poor old Hammer and the rest have been doing a run-through there since the morning. Yeah, but I don't know about that. But I don't have any evidence to counter that, so I don't think that's what we need to... They were working at a scene between the Steel Samurai and the Evil Magistrate. They got the basics figured out by noon and were to use the afternoon for practice. Rehearsal was supposed to start at 5. That's why old Hammer went to Studio 1 in the afternoon. Powers was in his dressing room sleeping, when he was supposed to be practicing. Talk about a laid-back hero. If there was a run-through in the morning, why did you only get there afternoon? Well, I had some errands that I had to run that morning. What errands? What kind of errands? Oh, well, you know. No. Answer the question. Actually, I was watching poor Hammer and Powers observing, you know? Observing? Weren't you supposed to be at the guard station? Whippersnapper, I told you I locked the gate, didn't I? I did my job. I'm not sure your boss would see it that way. Anyway, I always watch Hammer's run-throughs. Always. Never missed one in all my years. Oh, I want to see a Steel Samurai run-through too. You could quit being a spirit medium and take up guard duty. Not a bad idea, okay? Anyway, it was 1 p.m. when I got to the guard station. Did you see the victim then? Did I see old poor Hammer? No. He had already gone back to the studio before I got back to the guard station. Tell us what happened next. I was at the main gate from then until 5 o'clock. So you were watching the whole time? No breaks? Not even a second? Of course, I am a professional, you know. Or are you criticizing how I do my job, whippersnapper? No, it's just after seeing you eating those donuts in the guard station yesterday. I can watch the gate and eat donuts at the same time. Snipper whapper? What? Old windbag is losing it, Nick. Why don't you raise an objection? So the witness was on duty through the afternoon, the whole time. Very well. What did you see? Now the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? Why are you questioning me? How did you know that? Oh ho ho, I have my ways. That overdressed young detective told me. I fed him some donuts and he talked and talked. If you ask me, the detective isn't cut out for his job. Poor Detective Gumshoe getting ratted out by a security guard. Interesting to me because I saw a certain man walk by I can't read that sentence because a certain man walked by me at 2 p.m. 2? You were sure? Sure as spit. Well, who was the man? Really, you should try not to get so excited at your age. You might strain something. Now, don't get your skivvies all in a bunch. I'll tell you who it was. It was Powers. That man right there, and he was heading towards the studio. Let me just take a look at what I have. Check. When did this photo get taken? 2 o'clock. Okay, it all matches up. I feel like I should challenge it still with that, because that's technically not Powers. If we were being honest, we could just show that right there, but let's press this last statement here. So you saw Mr. Powers. That's what I said. Got wax in your ears, Sonny? Nick, this is your chance. Yeah, time to pull out the secret weapon. I'll say it again. It was him. It was Powers. That man right there, and he was heading towards the studio. So we'll just pull it out here. Let me get this straight, Oldbag. Or Miss Oldbag. You've been saying since yesterday you saw Mr. Powers, correct? But you're talking about the man in this photo, aren't you? Just a moment, Mr. Wright. Let me see that photo. What is this exactly? None other than the Steel Samurai, defender of Neo-Old Tokyo. Miss Oldbag. Is this the Mr. Powers that you saw? Of course. Didn't your mama teach you any sense, Sonny? Anyone can plainly see that's Powers, right? No, they can't. Well, I mean, I wonder. True, Mr. Powers does play the role of the Steel Samurai. But that doesn't mean Mr. Powers is the Steel Samurai. I like Edgeworth. I know that. I wasn't born yesterday. No one in this court is accusing you of that, witness. He's having trouble calling her Oldbag, apparently. However, you do not have proof that this person in this photo is Mr. Will Powers, do you? Nosy old man. Of course I have proof. What? Huh? Even Edgeworth is surprised? The prosecution would like to ask the witness. Please make known all the information in your possession ahead of time. How was I to know everyone would be so nosy? You should be ashamed, all of you. Anyway, I showed that photo to the young detective. He told me this isn't any good as evidence, pal. He didn't even give it a second look. Oh, old Windbag has left even Edgeworth speechless. She's good. Let's hear your proof then. Or about your proof then. Okay. Sure. I'm ready. Give it to me. I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. That morning, during the run-through of the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. He broke one of the props and it was a big mess. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Now, look at this picture, or at that picture. You can see he's dragging his leg, see? Clear as day. That's how I knew it was Powers. Happy? Not really. So, he had sprained his ankle. Very well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Gotta be hiding something. I'll press her until she squeals. Okay. I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. Whippersnapper. I haven't said anything yet. I'll have you know that I'm not pointing at fingers at anyone behind their back. Everything I've said is on the straight and narrow, up and up. Youth today, always whining about each other. Oh my god, she's rambling. Mr. Wright, please, for all our sakes, try not to upset the witness. I think Edgeworth has met his match. That morning, during the run-through of the action scene, who was present at the run-through? Well, let's see. There was Powers, he's the Steel Samurai. Then poor old Hammer and the evil magistrate. And me. What exactly were you doing? Observing. Just observing. What about the assistant? Oh, she was off moving backdrops around and such. So she didn't see the run-through then. I saw Powers trip and fall. Okay. Trip and fall. Yes, to think. He's supposed to be the Steel Samurai. What a laugh. So Powers sprained his ankle. I helped make it better for him, of course. You helped make it better? I kissed it where it hurt. Let's just skip over that part, shall we? Where was the assistant then? Oh, her? She was cleaning up backdrops, I think. I don't know about... She didn't know about Powers' ankle. May continue your testimony. He broke one of the props. It was a huge mess. He broke a prop? He sure did. His own samurai spear. Murder weapon? Luckily, I was there with duct tape to fix it. Strikes me as significant detail. Better write this down in the court record. Okay. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Was Mr. Powers' ankle badly sprained? Not so bad that he couldn't walk around. He went to his dressing room to rest up after lunch. That's the nap. Anyway, I saw him dragging his foot when he walked. Dragging his foot. Okay. I think we've heard enough, haven't we, Your Honor? There is one thing that bothers me, which is... Where is this Steel Samurai costume now? Actually, well, we couldn't find it. We're looking, though. Anyway, that's not important. The witness did see the Steel Samurai, yes? And it is clear that the person in the Steel Samurai suit was Mr. Will Powers. I suppose that's right. Are you sure, Your Honor? Object. Hold it right there. We keep talking possibilities, but we have to agree that this photo shows the Steel Samurai. Nowhere in this photo can we see Mr. Will Powers. The defense has a point. I also wonder if someone else not caught on camera could have killed Mr. Hammer. I feel like waiting and seeing what happens is a terrible idea. In what situation would that be a good idea? Unless, like, the judge... No. You always object. We have to consider that possibility too, also. Then allow me to remove that doubt from your mind, Your Honor. Will the witness continue her testimony, please? No need to ask twice. Okay, continued. The time of poor Hammer's death was 2:30 p.m., true? The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers. No one else went there. If they had, I would have seen them. What kind of bullshit is that? We're still assuming that that's Will Powers. So if no one else went to the studio, then it would have to be the Steel Samurai who did it. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Okay, so the last one didn't have anything I needed to hit on, because they just skipped past it. 2:30 p.m., sure. How do you know that? Oh, didn't I just explain? I gave donuts to the young detective. And then after some rubbish about being a secret pal, he told me everything. I see, Detective Gumshoe shares his fellow officer's fondness for donuts. The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers. Are you absolutely sure? Oh, quite, Sonny. Nobody suspicious looking passed by at all. Nobody suspicious looking. Right. No one else went there. What about before you got to the guard station? You mean before 1 p.m.? Why, everyone was in the employee area before then. I locked the main gate so no one could get in. Not to mention, if they had, I would have seen them. Is that true, though? Are you sure? The witnesses answered the question. Anyone going into the studio had to pass by the witness. That's right, Sonny. You let him have it, edgy boy. Edgy boy? I'm starting to really like Edgeworth. Old windbag sure has balls, or you know what I mean. Old windbags have a way of skipping over important details after all. Or, for that matter, entirely forgetting them. How convenient. Something for you to look forward to, perhaps. The time before Hammer's death was okay, so we gotta find out what we need to hit. So, part of me wants to mention this, and say that there's a... Because there's a vent, but I can't mention the vent. And like, I want to reference this because it could be that the vent is what's going on. Let's present it and see what happens. It looks like we're wrong. Faulty, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I see nothing faulty. Fuck. It's been on the wrong track. God, this is what I hate. This is what I hate about this stuff. Is it's like, all right, let's run through what we have, like, because maybe just running through what we have will clear up some suspicion here, or clear up what we have to do. Time of death: 10:15 at 2:30 p.m. Cause: pierced through the chest by the spear, or by a spear. Okay. Let me just make sure that we're at the beginning. Was Will Powers. Part of me wants to mention this again. He's dragging one leg. But see, is it Will Powers though? Should I present this here? The murderer weapon has a break mended with duct tape. I doubt that they would let us do that. I mean, we have only a couple options, right? I don't think we can fail if we just guess a bunch of stuff. Granted, what statements do we have? No one else went in there. The only person I saw go into the studio was Will Powers. So hold on, do we have... Yeah, present this. Photo number 2. Because photo number 1 is something interesting. That's right. Look at this photograph one more time. This photo was taken by the camera for the gate for the studios, correct? Yes, sirree, Sonny. So whenever anyone passes here, it automatically takes a picture? And here I thought you didn't know your head from a hole in the ground. Right. Anyway. It's also true that the computer in the guard station records all security cam data. Ooh, you know, if you wanted to work at the studio, we might have an opening. That very computer printed out this photo. Note that on the back of the photo are printed the words October 15th, 2 p.m. photo 2. Even I know that it means it was taken 2 p.m. on October 15th. Really, Sonny? Actually, I knew that too. The issue here is the bit at the end where it says photo number 2. Dude, we rocking it, dude. All we gotta do is just read over what evidence we have, and we're good. The computer only held data for one photo on that day. Don't you think that's odd? Shouldn't this photo be photo number 1? If it was really the only photo? Order, order. Please tell the court what you mean by this, Mr. Wright. Actually, that's what I wanted to ask the witness. Evidence shows not 1 but 2 people went to the studio that day. Yet there is only data for one of the photos. Who could have erased the data for the other photo? Only someone with access. The security lady herself. You watch your mouth, whippersnapper. The only person I saw that day was Will Powers. But the camera on the gate fired twice. That means 2 people went by. Yes, that's what it would seem to me. Okay, so I don't think it's her. It's the assistant. It's gotta be the assistant. I don't understand these newfangled computer things. Edgy boy, help. Believe me, I want to, but I don't know what this means either. Some help you are. You're a whippersnapper too. Whippersnapper? Something the matter, Oldbag? Or Miss Oldbag? That's right. I just remembered something. Let me guess. Someone else passed by the gate? Someone other than the Steel Samurai? Yes, I suppose you could put it that way. I see. Your testimony, please. Okay, the other person. Every day after I finish my guard duties, I have one other important job to do. I go through the photos recorded on the security computer and check them. I throw out any photos that aren't suspicious looking, you see? Come to think of it, now I remember throwing out one photo on that day. Miss Oldbag, this is the first I've heard of this. Well, of course, Sonny, I only just remembered it. I really like Edgeworth now. He's just taken aback by everything that this lady says. Right away, Mr. Wright, please explain. I'd say this is a turn for the unexpected, but I kind of expected this. The other person. Every day after I finish my guard duties, I have one other important job to do. Another job? That's right. I check all the people that pass by the main gate that day. I look closely at each one of the photos that the security camera takes. Do you back up all of the security camera data? Well, they keep telling me to, yes. But those computers are just so frustrating. I throw out any photos that aren't suspicious looking, you see. How exactly do you determine what isn't suspicious looking? Oh, well, you can tell by their faces, for the most part. For the most part? This is a murder trial, Miss Oldbag. Well, I didn't touch that suspicious-looking Will Powers photo, did I? I think she's missing the point. Come to think of it, now I remember throwing out one photo that day. Well, who the heck was in the photo you erased? Fanboy. Fanboy? Steel Samurai fanboys. Real freaks, if you ask me. They get information on the rehearsals from gosh knows where. They're always hanging about. One was there that day. Wait a second. Didn't you just say no one else could get in? I locked the main gate so no one could get in. Those were your words. Well, if you must know, there's a drain that goes into the employee area. Thank you. Add it to the piece of evidence, dude. Add that shit, dude. To the evidence of the court record, please. Coming through the drain? I told you they were freaks. Oh, and? They're kids. Children. Whippersnappers. Kids? On the photo that you erased. It was a boy. Probably 2nd or 3rd grade. What? Okay. Order. Let me get this straight. You saw 2 people pass by the gate on their way to the studios that day. One was the Steel Samurai dragging his leg, and the other was a boy who looked to be in about 2nd or 3rd grade. Oh yes, well, we see his type there every day. Can't stop him, can't catch him. A boy in 2nd or 3rd grade? I assume it would be hard, if not impossible, for a young boy to wield this samurai spear. Impossible, I think. It's quite heavy. Right, as I said, I didn't pay him much mind. That's why I erased the data. Nick, what's going on? I mean, the boy was there. That makes him a suspect. Yeah, and they're already trying to unsuspect him. The court will take a 5-minute recess. I want the defense and the prosecution to consider this new information. And no forgetting vital information this time. So, while I believe that a kid would be unable to kill the samurai guy with the spear was broken. So they could have used the end half of the spear to skewer him. Just, if I had to predict where this was going, that's where I would think that it would be going. Just like pure speculation. But it seems likely, right? Like, because the spear was broken, there was duct tape. That duct taped it together. I guess the question is when that happened. Does it tell me, actually? No. Meant it with duct tape. Tell me straight. Were you really in your dressing room? You didn't go to the studio? I didn't go to the studio. I was sleeping, honest. So who was the Steel Samurai in that security photo? How should I know? The Steel Samurai costume was off in the corner of the dressing room. Anyone could have walked in and taken it, really. You should take better care of that stuff. Couldn't imagine anyone wanting to steal a Steel Samurai costume. Where does this leave me? Doesn't look good. You're the only likely suspect right now. Nick, what are we going to do? First, we play for more time. We'll start by targeting someone else that could conceivably have done this. Right. It'll take them so long to shoot us down that we can get another day. Right. But if we pick the wrong person, we might lose on the spot. You don't sound very optimistic. I'm not optimistic at all, actually. Hey, Nick. It's time. Okay, let's go. What does that mean? Please don't sigh like that. Okay, we're back. So we have to put the blame on somebody that didn't necessarily do it, but that will buy us time. Mr. Edgeworth, will you present the prosecution's thoughts on this matter? The prosecution thoughts are simple. Nothing has changed. The other person who went to the studio was a boy roughly 10 years of age. The photo we do have may not be hard evidence, but there is still no one else that could have committed this crime. I call for a verdict of guilty for the defendant of Mr. Will Powers. Very well, Mr. Wright. Your thoughts? The defense disagrees with the prosecution's claim. There is another person who could have committed this crime. We're just gonna come out with it? Because I have no idea. Order. Interesting. Let us hear who you have in mind. Beware that the court does not look kindly on accusing the innocent. If you accuse someone who is obviously innocent, you will be penalized. Right, great. That the stakes weren't high enough. But who was this person other than Will Powers, or Mr. Powers, that could have committed this murder? Oh god, that red bar. So, assistant lady. Security lady was gone, and the grade school boy are both kind of off limits, but the assistant girl, there is a very high possibility that could have happened. We say the assistant girl. I feel like that's the answer. Right? Like, there's not much information about the assistant girl, so we can't necessarily single her out. We can single out the grade school boy and the security lady because the grade school boy can't stab. I'm just going to select it. It was the assistant. The Steel Samurai costume was in his dressing room. She stole it, and in doing so, she became the Steel Samurai. So you're saying that the Steel Samurai in the picture is really the assistant? That's correct, Your Honor. If you're serious, you've got guts, Mr. Wright. Remember the photo? Wasn't the Steel Samurai a little lame? He was dragging his foot. Uh-oh. Bad feeling time. Remember the testimony concerning Powers' injury? Powers and his poor hammer were at the run-through, and oh me. What about the assistant? Oh, and her? She was cleaning the backdrops, I think. She didn't know about Powers' ankle. The assistant knew nothing of Mr. Powers' injury. She could look like the Steel Samurai with that costume. But she couldn't walk the Steel Samurai walk. She wouldn't have limped. Fuck! Come on, dude! You could totally argue that, dude! You could be like, well, if you look at this photo, let's take another look at this photo. Is that really a limp? Or is that the person's not tall enough to fucking do the shit, dude? Are you serious with that right now? You're telling me. Okay, so we have to do... Nobody knows the troubles I've seen? What the hell? Very well, go ahead. So who was this person other than Mr. Powers that could have committed a murder? Fuck, it could be all three of these people. We're gonna go with the grade school boy because the security lady doesn't make any sense. The music stopped. I have a good feeling. Are you seriously suggesting that the boy did it, Mr. Wright? Grade school boy kills veteran action star with spear? For one thing, the murder weapon was with the Steel Samurai. Would you care to explain just how the boy would have obtained it from him? Fucking Christ, of course it's the security lady. Are you serious? Oh my god, dude. Get out of here, it's the security lady. Get the fuck out of here. I understand why. It could have been the other two people too. You could have argued that, Mr. Wright. Dumbass, trying to freaking lose the case. Dude, I would have been in there, like, arguing, dude. Oh, there's only one person Powers. What? Whippersnapper? Fuck, we can't make any more mistakes, at least this trial. Is this true, Oldbag? Oldbag, that's Miss Oldbag to you. Miss Oldbag was standing guard alone at the main gate. She was by herself. In other words, she has no alibi. She could have briefly left the post or her post to steal the Steel Samurai costume. Slipped into the Studio 1, the scene of the murder. Why would she go through the trouble of wearing the Steel Samurai costume? Simple, Your Honor. She knew that the camera at the gate would take her picture. If she was in his costume, she could point the finger at Mr. Powers. I see. Excellent deductive reasoning, Mr. Wright. Even though I got the first two wrong. Sherlock Holmes 2? What the hell? That was anything but that. Isn't that the part where Edgeworth pounces? Doesn't he usually jump up with an objection? New damning evidence? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, does the prosecution have an opinion on this matter? Edgeworth just doesn't care. Edgeworth has no meaningful objections at this time. Edgeworth is hilarious, dude. I love Edgeworth, dude. Don't just sit there, do something. What's my move? Maybe now's my chance to take this the whole way? Give Granny a break. I guess this does kind of make it look like she's the killer. Funny, I feel bad for her all of a sudden. It's true that the witness could conceivably have committed this crime. Yet we must not forget that the victim was an action hero. As formidable as her personality might be, or maybe, I doubt she'd be strong enough. Uh-oh. If he removes her from consideration, that means Mr. Powers is it. Sorry, Windbag, but I don't have a choice. The very same reasoning that makes Mr. Powers the subject in this case can be used to cast doubt on Miss Oldbag's actions on that day. But why would I do something so horrible to poor Hammer? You forget that Mr. Powers lacks a clear motive too. Indeed. That did it. Now old Windbag is one of the suspects. No hard feelings, I hope. Wait just a minute. What about the other person who went to the studio? The boy. The one whose photo I erased. He's only a grade schooler though, as you said. 2nd or 3rd grade, was it? That doesn't matter. When I was at that age, I could pin an old man in 10 seconds, tops. Your thoughts, Mr. Wright? The boy is not the killer. What? How can you be so sure? Yeah, how can you be so sure? This man could have stabbed the freaking person with the tip of the spear. I have proof. You have proof! Let's see this proof, Mr. Wright. You have proof that shows the boy could not have committed this murder? No? Oh, keycard. Present. The scene of the murder, as we know, was Studio 1. However, you need a keycard to enter Studio 1. How could a boy with no formal relation to the studios have a card key? Okay. I resign. I understand. That's good proof, Mr. Wright. Well, would the witness care to comment on this? The Windbag. Speechless. This has got to be a first. Very well. Court will suspend today's proceedings on the current trial for today. Mr. Edgeworth, please find out more about your witness, Miss Windy. What was her name? Something Oldbag, Your Honor? Prosecution will look further into this Oldbag before we continue. That is all. Court is adjourned. Jesus Christ, dude. It could have been the assistant. I understand why it's not the kid. What? Barking me up the wrong tree. Me. I'm talking. Please stop the presses. The Windbag wants to talk. This Oldbag, what is all this about? Didn't we already slam the hammer? Doesn't that mean it's over? You admitted something from your testimony? Actually, if you must know, there's something I was told not to talk about. Not to talk about? By whom? Fucking Edgeworth. I just really like Edgeworth now. You mean it wasn't Edgeworth who told her not to talk? Well, testify. Come on, Oldbag. My lips were sealed. Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. There were some other people at the studios on the day of the murder. They said they had nothing to do with it, see? So they told me just to pretend they hadn't been at the studios that day. But if you're going to go accusing me, I'm not letting them get away scot-free. Miss Oldbag, this is crucial information. Why did you keep this from the court until now? Ain't you been listening? They told me to shut my trap, and I always do what I'm told. No, this isn't a bad dream, Your Honor. Witness has the power of the Oldbag. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination. Okay, more of this. Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. So you were told not to talk. That's right, by the studio and the TV bigwigs, no less. Why didn't I hear about this? It's something about Edgeworth whenever he's on screen. It's just this interview though. Like, I can't imagine we were all in on it. I don't know why that's so funny to me. There were some other people in the studios the day of the murder. They said they had nothing to do with it, see? So they told me just to pretend they hadn't been at the studios that day. Whoa. Hold on. Okay. Wait, so hold on. Is this the first message? It is. We did that already. I forgot to press. Who are these people? Well, the director and the producer for starters. And the director? You should have known something was fishy. How could they have done a run-through of their action scene without a director? Of course. Well, I was surprised no one asked about it. So, Where were these people? The director was in the employee area all morning for the run-through. He joined the producer around lunchtime when they had a meeting after that. Where? Oh, in the Studio 2 trailer. Studio 2? It was the Studio 2? Well, if you look at the guide map, here it is. You go through the gate and all the way to the left. The pathway where that monkey's head was fallen over. Well, Mr. Wright, would you like to continue the crossing? I think I've already asked all my questions, but... Continue? They said they had nothing to do with it, see? This Oldbag, this is a trial for a murder. I know that's silly. Still, they were pretty convincing about not having anything to do with it. They gave me a little on the bonus on the side. So you got your bonus in still time. Yeah, there's no harm in just continuing. Them? Who were these people? Okay. And meaning after that where? Okay, so we already saw this. Yeah, so okay, so we're done here. Take a break. Your Honor, we have learned that there was others at Global Studios on the day in question. The director, the producer, and some bigwigs were all present. Yet, as we stand here, they have not been questioned. I hold that it is impossible to declare a verdict on the defendant, Mr. Powers. The court acknowledges the defense's point. The prosecution will gather more information about the witness, Miss Oldbag. More information about these other people we have just been told of. I understand, Your Honor. This ends today's proceedings and the trial of Mr. Will Powers. That is all. Court is adjourned. So does the battery reset between trial recesses? Because that would be great. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. I was right to ask you to defend me. Oh, really, it's nothing. Grin. Or should I sniff? Wait, what? We have to find out more about this director and producer. They'll be turning up in the next trial as witnesses for certain. So now's my chance to get material for the cross-examination. So Nick, have we figured out just who it was in that Steel Samurai costume? Could it really have been Old Windbag? What do you think, Mr. Powers? I don't think it was her, really. Neither do I, Nick. Yeah, I know. Look, I was just buying time back there. Someone had to be the bad guy for a bit to take the pressure off Mr. Powers. Poor Old Windbag. I kind of feel sorry for her. Well, she wasn't winning any points in there, with or without my accusation. Let's get down to the studios. Right. We'll get back to visit you soon. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Okay. Wow, so we made some mistakes there. I feel like you could have argued that the assistant did it, dude. You could have totally been on, like, I don't know. You could have been like, is that really a limp or is that just a person that's too freaking small for the costume? Instant assistant. Like, there would have been no doubting the assistant at that point. Alright, next episode we're going to go into his investigation. I'm sure we're going to talk to those people that we were just kind of mentioned there. And hopefully that battery resets before we do anything here. So that will be, it'll be amazing if it does. I would love that. So that way we can have full battery kind of for this next part. Because I have a feeling that it's going to get a little bit complicated. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. Peace out, you guys.